Age spots will disappear. 5 reasons. Your doctor will never mention every single day countless individuals observe dark patches spreading across their face, brown spots creeping up their hands and along their neck. These marks often appear quietly, one by one, until they become too numerous to count. Many have tried various creams or home remedies, only to be met with a dismissive shrug and the two-word explanation, "It's aging." However, this answer is incomplete. These age spots, medically termed hyperpigmentation, are not an unavoidable consequence of growing older. Instead, they serve as a signal indicating specific internal processes within your body are out of balance. The good news is that these internal processes can often be corrected without resorting to expensive procedures, costly creams, or surgery. The solutions frequently lie within straightforward tools and ingredients that are already present in your kitchen. It is important to understand that the healthcare system, by design, is often structured to manage symptoms rather than proactively maintain wellness. What you are about to discover are insights that might not be readily offered during a standard medical appointment. Let us begin by understanding precisely what occurs within your skin when a dark spot forms. Deep within the skin layers reside specialized cells known as melanocytes. These are pigment-producing cells, and their primary function is to manufacture melanin, the dark pigment responsible for your skin's color. In youth, when the body functions harmoniously, melanocytes distribute this pigment evenly across the skin's surface, resulting in a uniform, clear, and consistent complexion. However, under the influence of certain internal and external factors, which we will explore in detail, these melanocytes begin to work erratically. Some may slow down, while others go into overdrive, depositing excessive amounts of pigment into concentrated points. This leads to the appearance of a dark patch against the surrounding lighter skin. The critical insight here is that age itself does not inherently damage melanocytes. Rather, specific, identifiable physiological processes are responsible for their dysfunction, and because these processes are specific, they can often be changed. The first factor to address may surprise many, as it is not solely the sun. While most people believe age spots are purely a sun-related issue, this is only partially true. Think of the sun as the match, but for a fire to start, there needs to be fuel. The true fuel originates from within your body. If your internal systems are functioning optimally, sunlight does not necessarily become your enemy. Conversely, if there is internal dysfunction, spots can intensify even in the middle of winter, on overcast days, or with minimal sun exposure. This explains why individuals can diligently apply expensive sunscreens and seek shade, yet their spots continue to darken. They are often looking for the solution in the wrong place. Now, let us delve into the specific mechanisms, starting with the liver. You might wonder what the liver has to do with skin pigmentation, and the connection is genuinely surprising. Your liver simultaneously performs over 500 functions at any given moment. This is a documented physiological reality, not an exaggeration. It filters blood, breaks down fats, neutralizes toxins, produces bile, and stores vitamins, making it one of the hardest working organs in the body. One of its lesser-known functions, which you are unlikely to hear about at a dermatology appointment, is its direct influence on the condition of your skin. Every day, various substances enter your body through food, air, and water that need to be processed and rendered harmless. The liver intercepts these, neutralizes them, and routes them out of the body, acting as the primary filter. But when the liver becomes overloaded and cannot keep up with the incoming volume, this workload gets redistributed to other elimination systems. One of these crucial systems is your skin. This is not merely a figure of speech, it is pure physiology. Your skin is far more than just a covering for your body. It is a fully functional excretory organ. When your liver and kidneys are working beyond their capacity, your skin naturally absorbs part of that detoxification load. As substances that have not been fully neutralized begin to pass through skin tissue, they irritate the cells from the inside, including the melanocytes. These irritated melanocytes then start to function chaotically, dumping pigment unevenly and concentrating it in areas where the skin is thinnest, such as the face, hands, neck, and chest. This fundamental issue explains why even the most expensive creams on the market may fail to make a difference. You are essentially repainting the walls of an apartment with a burst pipe. The problem persists until the internal leak is fixed. It is also important to consider an important physiological change with age. Blood flow through the liver declines. Research indicates that by age 75, hepatic blood flow can decrease by approximately 30%, and the liver itself may shrink in volume by 20% to 40%. This means the organ becomes naturally slower. However, there is encouraging news. The liver possesses a remarkable capacity for recovery. By removing elements that are damaging it and supporting it with the right inputs, its function can significantly improve. This is why addressing liver health should not be overlooked. How can you support your liver? With simple, accessible tools found in everyday food and habits, rather than expensive supplements. First, begin each morning with a glass of warm water and a slice of lemon. The water should be warm, approximately 98 degrees Fahrenheit, close to body temperature, not hot or cold. This gentle warmth stimulates bile flow. Bile, a digestive fluid produced by the liver, tends to thicken overnight, and the warm water with lemon encourages its movement. A single lemon is inexpensive and can last several days. If you experience elevated stomach acid or have a stomach ulcer, substitute the lemon with half a teaspoon of honey for a similar principle with a gentler delivery. Second, incorporate bitter foods. Bitter flavors have a long-standing reputation for liver support, which is backed by scientific understanding. They stimulate bile production, aiding the liver in processing fats. One of the most readily available sources of bitterness is dandelion, the common plant often found in yards each spring. Dandelion leaves can be added to salads, and its root can be brewed as a tea. To prepare, use 2 tablespoons of dried dandelion root per cup of boiling water, steep for 20 minutes, and drink half a cup before a meal. Dandelion root is recognized as an official medicinal plant in pharmacopoeias and is inexpensive at health food stores or pharmacies. While bitter, its benefits are substantial. Third, eliminate trans fats from your diet. Trans fats are artificially modified fats, typically found in cheap margarine and industrial baking fats, common in store-bought cookies, inexpensive cakes, and many packaged convenience foods. Always read ingredient labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oils, these are trans fats. They impose a significant additional burden on the liver and the body as a whole. Replace them with a small amount of real butter, roughly half an ounce per day. This approach is simpler and often cheaper than it sounds. These 3 steps, warm lemon water in the morning, dandelion bitters before a meal, and avoiding trans fats, can provide meaningful support to your liver within several weeks. When the liver functions better, the skin bears less of a burden. This is not magic, but sound physiology. Now let us turn to the second organ, one that influences pigmentation just as powerfully, if not more so, yet is rarely discussed in the context of age spots. The gut. Researchers are actively studying what is termed the gut-skin axis, highlighting the direct relationship between intestinal health and skin condition. Current evidence suggests that disruptions in the gut microbiome can amplify inflammatory processes throughout the body, including those that lead to dysregulated pigmentation. Individuals with a compromised gut microbiome frequently exhibit skin problems, including uneven pigmentation, at significantly higher rates. Why is this the case? Your gut is not simply a tube for food passage. It is an intricate ecosystem teeming with trillions of bacteria. These bacteria govern processes you may not even be aware of, from synthesizing vitamins and calibrating immune responses to regulating inflammation throughout the body. When beneficial bacteria are abundant, they maintain the gut wall as a tight, intact barrier, preventing unauthorized substances from crossing into the bloodstream. However, when beneficial bacteria are depleted and harmful bacteria dominate, this crucial barrier function breaks down. In scientific literature, this condition is known as increased intestinal permeability, or colloquially, leaky gut. Through this weakened gut wall, fragments of bacteria and other undesirable substances can enter the bloodstream, triggering a low-grade inflammatory response throughout the body. This inflammation is often quiet and invisible, without fever or acute pain, but it is precisely this chronic, low-grade inflammation that pushes melanocytes into dysregulated activity. Recalling the analogy of the match and the fuel, this hidden chronic inflammation is the fuel. You could avoid the sun for an entire year, but if this inflammatory process is continuously running in the background, pigmentation will likely continue to intensify regardless of the season. So, what action can be taken? The goal is to restore the microbiome. This does not necessitate expensive probiotic capsules. The first method involves homemade sauerkraut, which is traditionally fermented cabbage. Crucially, this is not the store-bought variety typically sitting in vinegar and preservatives, but genuine sauerkraut made with only cabbage and salt. It is one of the richest natural sources of live beneficial bacteria. Consuming 2 to 3 tablespoons a day can lead to a noticeable difference in your gut within a month. With an ingredient list of just cabbage and salt, it is exceptionally economical. The second method is plain kefir, specifically the simplest variety without added flavors and with a short shelf life, ideally no more than 7 days. A shorter shelf life generally indicates a higher concentration of live bacteria. Drink a glass of kefir before bed every single night. Nighttime is particularly effective because the gut performs its most active repair work during sleep, allowing the bacteria from the kefir to integrate into the microbiome as you rest. However, these beneficial bacteria also require fuel. Their preferred food is fiber, which consists of the rough, plant-based material your digestive system cannot break down, but which beneficial bacteria thrive on. One of the best and most accessible sources of fiber is plain oatmeal, not the instant packets, but the real variety that takes 15 to 20 minutes to cook on the stove. 3 tablespoons in the morning can provide your gut bacteria with their daily nutrition. One frequently overlooked factor is that your gut cannot function normally without physical movement. Peristalsis, the rhythmic contractions that propel food through the intestines, slows down significantly when you spend the day sitting. Therefore, alongside dietary changes, incorporate a simple abdominal massage. To perform the abdominal massage, lie on your back with your knees bent. Place both palms on your abdomen and slowly circle your hands clockwise. This specific direction follows the natural path of food through the intestinal tract. Perform 36 rotations with moderate, gentle, but deliberate compression, not merely a surface stroke. This practice has roots in centuries of traditional medicine, and modern research confirms its efficacy, demonstrating that abdominal massage can improve intestinal motility and support normal digestion. Now, let us revisit the sun, which is the third factor in this sequence. When sunlight reaches your skin, it penetrates deep enough to contact the melanocytes and triggers a signal. Threat detected. Defend yourself. Melanin acts as your skin's natural shield against ultraviolet (UV) radiation, which is why skin darkens with sun exposure, a normal, healthy, protective response. However, what is not normal is when chronic inflammation already exists in your body due to an overburdened liver, a disrupted gut, or both. In such cases, your melanocytes are already in a state of persistent irritation and are functioning erratically. When UV light then strikes a cell that is already in this compromised state, the response becomes disproportionate. Instead of an even, mild tan, a concentrated surge of pigment is dumped into a single spot. This is the origin of your age spot. It is not because the sun is inherently your enemy, but because your body was not internally prepared for that encounter. This vital understanding underscores why the condition of your skin is ultimately determined from the inside. However, this does not imply that sun exposure should be entirely ignored. There are specific foods that help your skin resist UV damage from the inside out, known as dietary antioxidants. Antioxidants are compounds that neutralize free radicals, unstable molecules generated in skin tissue under UV exposure, which can damage cells. Antioxidants intercept these free radicals before the damage can spread, First, consider carrots. They contain beta-carotene, a compound that accumulates in skin tissue and acts as an internal light filter. Large-scale scientific reviews, known as meta-analyses, confirm that regular consumption of beta-carotene-rich foods increases the skin's resistance to ultraviolet damage. A critical detail: beta-carotene is fat-soluble, meaning it is only absorbed in the presence of dietary fat. Therefore, eat carrots with sour cream, a small amount of butter, or cooked in oil. Without fat, beta-carotene passes through your system without being absorbed. Second, incorporate tomatoes, particularly heat-processed, varieties like cooked, stewed, or as tomato paste. When heated, tomatoes release lycopene, one of the most potent natural antioxidants known. Clinical research demonstrates that regular consumption of tomato paste can increase the skin's resistance to UV-induced damage. Aim for 2 tablespoons a day. Third, drink green tea. Opt for loose-leaf tea rather than bagged varieties. Brew it strong, let it cool, and drink 3 to 4 cups throughout the day. Loose-leaf green tea contains a high concentration of catechins, which are powerful antioxidants that directly protect skin cells from free radical damage. Consuming carrots with fat tomato paste and green tea daily can offer more protection than many SPF products on the shelf. A few words of practical common sense about sun behavior are also prudent. During peak UV hours, generally from around 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., seek shade. A light hat and a long-sleeve shirt are usually sufficient protection. However, do not completely hide from the sun. This other extreme also carries real costs, as your body needs sunlight to produce vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency is a widespread problem that receives far too little attention. According to research data, insufficient or deficient vitamin D levels are found in the overwhelming majority of people over the age of 60. Most individuals are unaware of this deficiency because low vitamin D does not cause pain or sharp, localized symptoms. It works quietly, like rust corroding iron from the inside, unseen until the structure begins to fail. Vitamin D is crucial for regulating immune activity, renewing skin cells, and protecting against inflammation. Its deficiency is associated with a wide range of skin problems. Research also suggests that vitamin D directly influences melanocyte function. Though the precise mechanisms are still being elucidated, the directional evidence is consistent. One point is settled: maintaining normal vitamin D levels is an essential component of overall health, and skin health is no exception. Do you need expensive supplements for this? Not necessarily, at least not initially. Start with what is freely available: sunlight. To generate your daily vitamin D, 15 minutes outdoors between April and September with your forearms and face exposed is often sufficient. This is a free and effective method. Beyond sunlight, consider certain foods. First, herring. Regular salted herring, available at any grocery store, contains approximately 1.5 times the daily recommended intake of vitamin D per 100 grams. A single portion at lunch can cover your daily requirement. Second, egg yolks. 2 egg yolks per day provide roughly 30% of the daily vitamin D requirement, offering a meaningful contribution when combined with other sources. Third, cod liver. 1 teaspoon per day. A small jar is inexpensive and can last 2 to 3 weeks, eliminating the need for capsules. Herring, eggs, and cod liver are ordinary products found in an ordinary grocery store, making this approach accessible. Now we arrive at the fifth factor, one that can potentially outweigh all 4 preceding factors combined. It has nothing to do with food or the sun, but is intimately connected to your nervous system and your daily emotional state. In clinical experience, it has been observed that patients who ate correctly, supported their liver, consumed fermented foods every evening, and followed every protocol, sometimes still found their spots did not fade, and new ones even appeared, only when one specific issue, entirely unrelated to food, skin, or sunlight, was addressed. Did the situation begin to shift? That factor is chronic stress. This refers to the daily, habitual stress that people often cease to notice because it has become the background noise of their lives. Here is the mechanism. When you are anxious, worried, or upset, the brain triggers an alarm signal. The adrenal glands, two small glands situated on top of your kidneys, release stress hormones into the bloodstream. In prehistoric times, these hormones were life-saving, elevating blood pressure, accelerating heart rate, and sharpening attention, all necessary to survive a physical threat. However, your body cannot distinguish between a real physical threat and an emotional one. A conflict with a neighbor, worry about your children, or a sleepless night spent consuming distressing news are all registered by the body as the same signal: danger. Consequently, stress hormones flow, not just occasionally, but every single day. Morning anxiety, midday irritability, and evening exhaustion that even sleep cannot resolve. Does this sound familiar? Chronic stress drives skin deterioration through multiple pathways. Firstly, it amplifies systemic inflammation, the same low-grade chronic inflammation discussed throughout. Secondly, stress triggers the production of compounds from the pro-opiomelanocortin family. This is a precursor protein, a raw material from which the body manufactures several hormones, including some that directly stimulate pigment production. Thirdly, stress degrades the skin's barrier function, rendering it more vulnerable to external damage. Individuals under chronic stress exhibit skin disorders, including pigmentation irregularities, at substantially higher rates. You can adhere to every nutritional guideline and follow every protocol diligently, but if you are in a state of chronic stress daily, the inflammatory processes will likely persist. The solution is not to eliminate all stress entirely, which is an unrealistic goal, but rather to train your body to mount a calmer physiological response. Here is a specific technique that activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your nervous system responsible for rest, recovery, and restoration, serving as the biological counterbalance to the stress response. Sit comfortably or lie down and close your eyes. Place one hand on your chest and the other on your abdomen. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4, breathing with your diaphragm so the hand on your chest remains still while the hand on your abdomen rises. Hold your breath for a count of 7 calmly, without strain. Then, exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8, making a long, audible exhale as if gently blowing out a candle positioned far across the room. This 4-7-8 technique should be repeated 4 times, taking approximately 2 minutes in total. This breathing pattern activates the vagus nerve, the primary nerve of the parasympathetic system. As a result, heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and muscles relax. Consistent practice of slow diaphragmatic breathing measurably reduces circulating stress hormone levels and significantly improves sleep quality. Deep sleep is particularly important here, as it is during this phase that the skin performs its cellular renewal. Without sufficient deep sleep, complete regeneration is compromised. Practice this technique before bed every night. It is clinically relevant to note that your body's response to liver overload, gut dysbiosis, UV exposure, vitamin D deficiency, and chronic stress all intensify with age. These mechanisms operate more aggressively after 40, and the acceleration increases further after 50. In individuals past 60, skin cells renew at roughly half the rate they did in youth, meaning damage clears more slowly and new damage accumulates faster. Age is indeed a clinically significant variable here. For the practical section, can age spots be addressed topically as well? Yes, but only as a complement to everything discussed so far. The internal work should always take precedence, with external treatments acting as a secondary support. Here is a 3-ingredient mask using items from your kitchen. But first, an important warning. One common mistake is applying a brightening remedy only to find the spots darken instead of fading, or the skin becomes inflamed and flakes. The issue is often not the remedy itself, but the application method. Your skin is a living organ, the largest in your body, and on its surface exists a protective barrier, a microscopically thin film of beneficial lipids and microorganisms. When this barrier is intact, the skin can calmly tolerate active ingredients. However, in most people, this barrier is compromised by harsh soaps, alcohol-based toners, and abrasive scrubs. When an active substance comes into contact with a damaged barrier, the skin interprets it as an attack, leading to inflammation. Inflamed skin, in turn, responds by producing more pigment. This phenomenon is called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, where skin darkens in direct response to an inflammatory injury. You might have inadvertently tried to lighten it and made it darker. Rule number 1. For 3 full days before using any mask, stop washing your face with soap entirely. No cleansers, no gels, no scrubs, only warm water. Over these 3 days, the skin barrier will begin to rebuild itself, and you will feel it becoming softer and more supple. Only then, and not before, should you apply the mask. The 3 ingredients are all from your kitchen. First, kefir, 1 tablespoon. Kefir contains lactic acid, a mild, naturally occurring compound with documented brightening properties, plus live bacteria to support the skin's microbiome. Second, honey, half a teaspoon. Honey is a natural humectant, a substance that draws moisture from the air and holds it in the skin, and it also acts as a gentle antimicrobial agent. Third, turmeric, a pinch, no more than the amount that fits on the tip of a knife. Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound with well-documented anti-inflammatory properties. However, if too much is used, the skin can stain yellow, so a pinch is sufficient. Mix all 3 ingredients thoroughly. Apply this mixture to your face, neck, chest, and hands. Leave it on for 15 minutes, then rinse with warm water and no soap. Pat dry gently. Do not rub. Apply this mask 3 times per week, only in the evenings, not daily, and not in the mornings. After using active ingredients, skin is temporarily more UV sensitive, making morning application before going outside inappropriate. The second element of the practical protocol involves movement for lymphatic flow. The lymphatic system is your body's internal waste clearance network. It collects dead cells, metabolic byproducts, and inflammatory debris, routing them out of the body. Approximately 2 liters of lymph circulate through your body each day. Unlike blood, which is pumped by the heart, lymph has no dedicated pump. It moves primarily through one mechanism, muscle contraction. If you sit all day, lymph flow stagnates, leading to the accumulation of metabolic waste from skin cells. Here is a 5-minute routine each morning that can change this. First, vibration. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. If balance is an issue, hold onto a chair back. Rise 1 to 2 inches onto the balls of your feet, then drop softly onto your heels. The contact should be firm but gentle, enough to feel, but not enough to cause pain. Repeat 30 times, taking about 30 seconds. Second, heel pulses. Sit in a chair and rapidly raise and lower your heels while keeping your toes on the floor for 30 seconds. This specifically activates lymph flow in the legs, where stagnation is most common. Third, a full body stretch. Stand upright, interlace your fingers, and raise both arms overhead, stretching your entire body upward for 10 seconds. Lean to the right for 5 seconds, then to the left for 5 seconds. This opens the chest and supports lymph movement through the thoracic duct, which is the body's primary lymphatic channel. Fourth, facial massage. Lightly tap your fingertips across your face, then use gentle strokes from the center outward toward the ears. For example, from the forehead midline to the temples, from the cheeks and nose to the ears, and from the chin center toward the earlobes. Perform 5 to 6 strokes in each direction. Behind the ears are lymph nodes that drain the entire face. Here's a week-by-week plan to integrate these practices. Week 1, preparation. Every morning, drink warm lemon water before eating. Every evening, consume kefir 1 hour before bed. Eliminate trans fats from your diet. Begin drinking dandelion root tea before your main meal, preparing it with 2 tablespoons per cup of boiling water, steeping for 20 minutes, and drinking half a cup. Stop using soap on your face, opting for warm water only. No other external changes yet, as the internal processes have already begun. Week 2, activate the system. Implement the full dietary protocol. In the morning, have oatmeal with grated carrot and a teaspoon of butter, along with green tea. For lunch, prepare a beet salad with unrefined oil, 100 grams of herring, and a bowl of cabbage soup. For an afternoon snack, have 1 ounce of raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are a concentrated source of zinc, a mineral vital for skin cell renewal and which is often deficient in people over 60. For dinner, have 2 boiled eggs or a portion of poached chicken along with fermented cabbage. Finish the day with kefir before bed. Incorporate the morning movement routine: vibration, heel pulses, stretching, and facial massage, totaling 5 minutes. Practice the 4-7-8 breathing technique for 4 cycles in the evening. Begin applying the 3-ingredient mask 3 evenings per week. Week 3. Observe. Look closely at the spots. Their edges should begin to soften, and their color will start to fade. Add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste daily to your meals. Week 4 and beyond, consolidation. Within 2 to 3 months of consistent adherence to this regimen, you will likely see measurable changes, not only in the spots but also in overall skin tone, improved firmness, and better sleep. This is because you are not merely masking a symptom, you are supporting the entire organism from the inside. One bonus technique is a 1-minute temperature contrast. Take a metal teaspoon and place it in the freezer for 5 minutes. While it chills, rub your palms together vigorously for 30 seconds until you feel genuine warmth. Press your warm palms flat against your face for 10 seconds. This action brings blood to the surface and expands blood vessels. Next, press the rounded side of the cold spoon against each area of pigmentation for 3 seconds each. Work across the full face and neck. Finish again with warm palms for 10 seconds. This temperature alternation drives the vessels through cycles of expansion and contraction, which more actively moves blood and lymph through the tissue, improving local cellular metabolism. Perform this every morning after your movement routine. It costs nothing and takes only 1 minute. Consider taking a photograph of your face today and comparing it in 2 weeks. To summarize the complete picture, 5 key factors drive pigmentation: liver function, gut microbiome health, UV exposure, vitamin D status, and chronic stress. You now have concrete tools to address each. For the liver, use warm lemon water and dandelion bitters. For the gut, incorporate fermented cabbage, kefir, and oatmeal. For antioxidant protection against UV damage, consume carrots with fat, tomato paste, and green tea. For vitamin D, rely on sunlight, herring, eggs, and cod liver. For stress management, practice the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Complement these internal strategies with a 3-ingredient mask 3 evenings per week, 5 minutes of morning movement for lymphatic flow, and the 1-minute cold spoon technique. These components work synergistically as a system, and their financial cost is negligible. One important clinical note before concluding: if you have spots that are changing in shape, possess irregular borders, or appear different from other spots, please consult a dermatologist. Everything discussed here supports your body's own function, but does not replace professional medical evaluation when something requires clinical examination. It is a fact of the healthcare system that in some settings, there is often no direct revenue generated from patients who do not need to return for further interventions. This is an observation about the system itself, not a criticism of individual professionals. Your health is the paramount focus here.